Kelly Juhl, assistant coach for Harlan for many years. Coach, I guess first of all, can you talk about just kind of what start from now and kind of work backwards of what you've been doing? I know a lot of the years have been spent here, but you're obviously some different places too.
Oh yeah, I've been here for 19 years at Harlan Community. Before that, I was in a combo position at EHK Xira. Before that, I was at Palmer, and that was a shared position with Rockwell City Lytton. And before that, I started in a shared position at Crestland Shaler, which is early Iowa, and I started there when it was just early Iowa Crestland. So I've been through a lot of consolidations.
Tell me about what you've been. You're an industrial tech teacher here. Has this kind of been what you've been doing all your teaching career? And then were you always coaching basketball at all those different places?
I've always taught industrial tech all the places I've been. I started out coaching girls basketball as an assistant coach there. That was back when it was 6-on-6. And then about after my third year, I made the jump to boys basketball, and I've stayed in boys basketball at some type of, junior high, high school assistant. Was head coach one year at early Iowa. Always usually coach assistant football, some level, junior high, high school, freshman. So been busy, it seems like.
So how did you come about that you were going to be an industrial tech teacher and basketball coach? Was this always something that you wanted to do? And I guess what got you to this point?
I guess probably got to this point when I graduated from school, which I graduated from Erwin Kirkman. Folks said, hey, need to go to college, part of growing up. So looked around. I went on a scholarship at Peru State. So kind of like, well, let's see, I need to take a major that I can use. So I started on industrial tech. The advisor there said, well, let's go the education route because you can always get back into the business end of it. And my first teaching certificate was for 10 years, and I guess I stayed a little longer than 10 years.
Yeah. Tell me about how you kind of came about. How'd you meet Coach Osborne? Was it somebody you knew growing up, or how'd it come about where you were coaching with him?
I guess I knew him in high school. We played against Walnut once in a while when we were at Erwin Kirkman, so I knew him a little bit then. My first year out of college, I substitute taught here in Harlan, Elkhorn-Kimballton, and I took a full-time position at Elkhorn just to finish the year out. So I taught about 18, 19 weeks with him, and that's where I really got to know him, pretty well. And then after that year, I took a full-time job in early Iowa. So then we kind of separated, and we ended up hooking back up 4 years later at Palmer.
Well, I kind of jump around with these interviews, so we're going back to Erwin Kirkman. Tell me, what was that? Was that Boyer Valley Conference?
That was Boyer Valley Conference at the time. That's when Dunlap was by themselves, Dow City was by themselves, Woodbine, Logan, Arweva. So I mean, it was just the Boyer Valley Conference, as I know of old, before all the consolidations and everything took place.
I assume basketball was a big part of your life growing up.
Played basketball my year in high school, played football, ran track, played baseball, so kind of multi-sport, Back then you kind of went seasonal. Kids didn't specialize or, you kind of worked at it when the season started, I guess.
Was Peru State, did you play basketball there?
I actually played football at Peru State, played all 4 years. You look back, those 4 years go by pretty quick, so I always try to tell kids, enjoy those years in college because they're going to go by quick.
Oh, QB or?
No, actually a tight end.
Okay. That was my second guess. I just was wondering because both of your sons were quarterbacks too, or I guess two of them anyway. Tell me about coming to Harlan. And I think you said you're at the Elkhorn-Kimballton Xira shared position at that time, and Mitch comes from a great run at Palmer, and he heads to Harlan. And I guess when did he make the call, and what was your reaction about maybe joining him here?
Well, I always give him a hard time. I got hired here before he did,
okay.
So I got the job in the end of March, 1st of April, and Mitch got it later on. So it was kind of nice. I know the head basketball position was open at the time when I applied and got the job over here. So just kind of I knew Mitch was interested in it, so just kind of played the waiting game. Who was going to be hired? I guess I was always trying to. When I decided to stay in education until I was going to retire, I thought, well, I need to head to a bigger school where pay and benefits and longevity are probably a little better.
Well, I think maybe the perception is that you and him kind of like a package deal that kind of went around the state together, but it's just an amazing, I guess, coincidence that you've always been pretty much the same spots.
Well, He actually at Pomeroy, he got the job first. Okay. And I had actually applied for the industrial tech job over there. And one afternoon he called me at school when I was teaching early. He goes, "Hey, guess what?" I always told him when I left, I said, "Hey, if the opening ever comes back open in Elkhorn, let me know so I can apply for it." When he goes, "Well, I got a better deal." He goes, "I'm at Pomeroy, and how about coming over and interview for the industrial tech position?" So that's how I got started the first time that I joined him for 4 years there.
Great success you had there at Pomeroy and here at Harlan, of course. Can you, I guess, I couldn't have you just like single point one highlight out, but I guess talk about those teams and the success you guys had together.
Well, I guess probably the biggest thing, you always have to have kids that are willing to play and kids that are willing to work. I mean, when you look back at all the kids that both of him and I have coached, there's always been kids that are willing to work hard. There's kids that are willing to put the time in. And then you always got to have the kids that are just willing to be a part of that team, and they'll work to make everybody else better. Unfortunately in high school you always have some kids that rise to the top and are a little more athletic, but you have a lot of kids that'll just show up and do the job and be a part of it, whether play defense, rebound. They don't get the highlights, and then you have some kids that get hurt and or have to miss a whole year. So, I mean, you always kind of feel sorry, but I guess I've kind of always rooted for the underdog a little bit because you need those to step up and play and contribute to make everything work.
Got any good underdog stories you can share with us here?
Well, I can't really name any one anymore. I mean, you kind of hate to single any kid out, but I mean, we've had numerous kids that will just show up every day for practice. Here at Harlan, we have Little Cyclone where the kids come in and they help coach teams. And, they show up on Sunday afternoons to do that. And, we try to emphasize, our high school kids, you're a role model. Little kids are watching you all the time, no matter where you're at. And we've got some great high school kids that I've been affiliated with that, they buy into that and they realize little kids are watching them all the time.
Of course, were you there for the state championship, Pomeroy?
Yep.
Okay, so you had one title there and then two here. Is that correct?
Two here or three here.
Three, whatever. Can you? I guess the one I really remember the most was the one where you were was it Crestwood, where you were losing pretty bad? Well, I mean, can you take me through that whole comeback? I mean, what's going on? You got to feel like you're about ready to, accept the runner-up trophy.
It's kind of like you feel like you're dead in the water, then all of a sudden, but, it's like we always tell the kids, you play hard enough, long enough, good things will happen. And, we got lucky. We got some stops. We hit some three-pointers, and then that momentum changed a little bit. And I guess if you're going to be hot in any time of a ball game, it's the last half of the quarter. And, we were close enough and hung around that we got over the top on that. And, I guess good teams always find a way. It might not always be good for three quarters, but, if it clicks and things start rolling pretty well, you have a chance.
As you said, had some great talent, some hardworking kids here at Harlan, and in the past at other schools as well. So, but you also have to put them in the position to succeed that you and Mitch have done, and the rest of your coaching staff. Can you tell me how the dynamic works between you two? What's it like there? What duties do you have, or how's it all work out?
I guess been with him quite a while. I guess I've always pretty well taken care of a lot of the post players. Mitch will take care of a lot of the guards, so if we split in practice on shooting drill, I'll spend a lot of time with our post players. He takes all the guards all the time. When we split and we start to scrimmage, I always have the JV kids, and we're always trying to put in plays of everybody else, so varsity kids are used to seeing stuff. So, I mean, the communication has always been well. It's kind of like when you've been together with somebody long enough, you always kind of know what he's thinking, he knows what I'm thinking, and a lot of times we're on the same page, so it works out really well.
And he's had three boys come through. Have you had three as well? You've had three boys come through too. So what's that been like? The dynamic of coaching a son. I mean, is it change anything?
Oh, I would say the boys probably say it changes a lot, but I mean, you try to treat them the same way. I mean, I guess you always have a little higher expectations. Like, hey, make sure you're doing things right. Set the example, and make sure you keep your nose clean and do what's right. Coach's kid. My wife and I always told our boys that, everybody knows you in town. Mm-hmm. So whatever you do, it's going to get back to us. And, try to be smart, make good choices. And, luckily we both have had three boys that are, good athletes. All of them work hard in school, and that pays off where you have good kids that make good choices and decisions.
Well, again, kind of jumping back and around, but you come into this Harlan situation years ago. They've always been a talented group, I think, and maybe I'm off base by this, but never really had a huge success in basketball, not the success you guys have had. So how does it start day one, turning Harlan into the kind of the powerhouse they are now?
Well, you really can't take any away from the previous years before Mitch and I got here. Harlan did play in 4A, so a lot of times they played West Des Moines Valley to go, and the dynamics of what class you play and who you get to play. It makes a big difference if you. It's like the game of basketball. If you get the lucky bounce at the right time, it goes your way. We've been lucky enough. We're in Southwest Iowa, where we're far enough. You always know who you're going to play, which you got to make sure you get up, get ready to play those. And like I said before, our kids have always worked hard, and I'm not saying the other kids in other towns haven't worked hard either. But it's like I said, you have to put yourself in that position or hang around long enough to have that chance at it. Mm-hmm. And I think our kids in the communities that make up Harlan have done a great job of putting themselves in that spot to have a chance.
And can you speak a little bit to the coaches, too, the communication the coaches have here with Harlan? They're not just good at one sport; it's a lot of different sports, and you have to have the communication and the ability to let other coaches have your kids at different times. Maybe some schools really struggle with that. I feel like Harlan has maybe mastered it.
Well, I think part of it with Harlan, you have to learn how to share. Not all kids that are your great football players will be your great basketball players or be your true sprinters for track to make stuff happen. But like I said before, it takes those role players to have that chance where they can play other sports and be good at something else and still have the time and the effort to spend time like, hey, you know what? I'm going to help my classmates out so they do well in something else too. And we've had a lot of kids sacrifice to make sure kids that look good and they make the extra pass or make the block. You can go through the list of Harlan kids. There's a few that make the headlines all the time. But there's a lot of other kids. You look at offensive and defensive linemen and some other guards or forwards that make passes and rebound, block out. There's a lot of kids that have contributed all the way through.
Well, did you ever do you coach anything other than basketball?
I had football here for a while. I did junior high track, did some junior high basketball too. So it's kind of been a variety. I guess I kind of got into coaching just to be connected with kids a little bit. If you're around young kids, you feel younger yourself sometimes. So. But, that's always been a pleasure. I always looked at it as you got to know kids in a different light instead of just in a classroom setting. And, if you connect with them that way, they'll do a lot of things for you. And I kind of look at my coaching career as they've given me a lot more than what I could ever give them back for coaching.
Well, I guess ask you about your family. You mentioned the three boys. Can you talk about those three guys and the wife and how you guys hooked up, how you got together?
Well, my wife she'll admit it too. We actually met on a blind date when I taught in Palmer, and she was at Fort Dade, St. Edmund. So, the rest is kind of history from there. Met, dated, got married, had our first son, Jared. He's now a senior at Buena Vista playing basketball, business major. Adam is our second son. He's at Buena Vista also playing basketball. Currently, he's a mathematics education major. And our youngest son, Kyle, is a senior in high school here in Harlan this year.
Well, they're all terrific athletes. In basketball, that's where Kyle's probably headed to. In terms of basketball, is he do it at Wayne State or something?
Kyle actually committed to University of Nebraska Kearney. Okay. So got that taken care of this summer. That's kind of a hectic schedule when you're going through that process. So, but I think it's been a relief off his shoulder. You look at that. He had some other offers, but felt like a nice fit there. Got along with Coach Lofton really well, so I think he's happy with it. And I know the other boys are happy at Buena Vista too, so it just depends on choices and what you want to do.
Joining his old teammate there, Trey Landsman. So in terms for you, you're high school basketball coach, and you've got 3 right now. You have 2 kids in college. You'll have 2 more. Or you'll have 2 playing next year too. So how do you get around, I guess, to see them?
Some nights you just check to see like where we're going and what time we need to leave. Been a little easier this year. You know, we're back to that Tuesday, Friday high school games. Buena Vista, they're in their conference schedule now, so that's always Wednesday, Saturday. Some of their games are pretty close. You know, trip to Dubuque or Luther. If that's on a Wednesday night, I think we'll watch that one on the computer instead. But we try to get to as many of the boys' games as we can in college, and you know, that's a short time too. So if you don't go now, you'll never get a chance to go back.
It's going to be a little more difficult next year too, though, with the UNK and Buena Vista thing. They play in 2 totally different, divisions, obviously, but areas too.
Yeah, that'll be a little tough for UNK. They play a lot of theirs on Thursday and Saturday, so the Saturday will be a little difficult schedule, I suppose. We like when our kids were little. One parent went one way and another parent went the other way, and communication, cell phone back and forth, how the kids are doing. So
I should actually ask about this season right now. I mean, you guys are playing great, and you have just 2 losses, and looks like you're on your way to a shared conference championship. Obviously, you probably wanted the whole thing, but your thoughts on this season?
Well, you know, this year's going great. Like you and I talked before, every night out, I mean, you have to be ready to play. I mean, there's, you know, just like I said, there's a lot of great athletes in every town, and you know, it's gotten to that point where some kids, they spend the extra time to be better. I mean, Atlantic has a great pair, Glenwood has a great pair. I mean, and not only a great pair, I mean, they have pieces that go along with them and complement them. Shenandoah's great. I mean, you have a lot of pieces where you have to be ready to go. Got a tough stretch coming up. We got Denison on Tuesday, and we go to Kemper on Friday, and we turn around and have Atlantic and finish with Glenwood in 2 weeks. So I mean, it's kind of a meat grinder, but that's how you get better, by playing good competition. And you know, you have to be ready to play. You know, if you want to go very far in postseason, you have to be ready to play every night out.
What did you think about the district situation? Was that surprised you? It's getting split with Glenwood Atlantic?
Well, you know, it is and it isn't. It's a shame, you know, and sometimes you don't have much say in it. But if all 3 of us would have been stuck in the same district, you know, hopefully one would go out of it. You never know what happens on an upset or stuff. But, you know, being split, you know, that's great. You know, there should be somebody from Southwest Iowa that gets represented, and hopefully we can uphold our end of the bargain and go up north and get in too. I mean, you get to that point, you know, you got to play basketball and you got to play well. So hopefully everybody stays healthy and the ball bounces your way a little bit when you need it to.
Coach, thanks a lot.
You bet. Thank you very much, Derek.